Good afternoon if you're in the UK, good morning if you're in the USA, and good evening if you're further east of me. My name is Dale Rodriguez, and this is Flabonga Monthrothacube. And with me today, I've got Joe Lines. Hey, Joe. How's it going?
Hey, it's going really well, Dale. Thank you so much for having me, and congratulations on pronouncing the name perfectly. I can definitely not say that as well as you. So, yeah.
Would you like to give it a try?
Flabonga Monthrothacube. Is
Honestly,
that okay?
you've done a smashing job. You've done a smashing job.
Okay,
Seriously, like it's a
thank
hard
you.
word to say. It's a hard word to
It
say.
is.
Um, have you ever been serenaded because of your name?
Um, have I ever been serenaded? No, I always though with my name when I'm trying to explain to someone on the phone, it's kind of I'm like lines, and they say lion, and I say no, just like straight lines.
Straight lines.
That's the only,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the only anecdote I have about my about my name, which is always people misinterpret it as lion, or sometimes
No, I
ly,
get that.
which is yeah, but hey, but yeah, no, like a straight line.
No, because my immediate thought was Joe Lines, Joe Lines, Joe Lines, Joe Lines. Please tell me someone's done that before.
That do you know what that has happened? And I think I probably just kind of
Right?
like I wiped it from my memory. It's fantastic. Yeah, it's great. I'd appreciate that. And if only I could kind of configure my alarm clock to maybe wake up to that, maybe that recording. We can clip this out, put that into the Alexa, and say, yeah, just can I have Dale like serenading me each morning? We'll see how my partner goes on with that.
I'm sorry if that triggered you. I don't know. That might have been like a high school thing where you were often serenaded by that one song. So I'm very, very sorry. Speaking of names, we've got Mark Chook. I would say Chook. Sorry, Mark.
Oh,
Is that
Shwakey.
how you
That's
pronounce that?
Shwakey. Shwakey. Hey,
Shwakey.
Shwakey. Yeah, that's a great
Sorry,
name.
Mark Shwakey. See, I pronounced that terribly wrong. And I can imagine trying to say that on the phone to spell to people, Mark. Yeah, I get it. That's difficult. Thank you for joining us, by the way.
Hey, Mark. Good to see
How
you.
do we know Mark? How do we know
Oh,
Mark?
Mark, I know from Qubit days, and actually, back in a little bit of background. So I left university, studied computer science, jumped into consulting, did that for a few years. Wanted to get out of this like big company politics, big company machine. Wanted to do something entrepreneurial. Thought best place to learn about that was to join an early stage company, and found a
Mhm.
company called Qubit. Set up by four guys that left Google. And when I joined, I think it was like 14, 15 people. Shweki joined in a senior role in marketing and was just an incredible individual. I mean, he's um, got all of the attributes of a fantastic comedian, like with a sort of marketing brain and mind. And he has the ability to sort of like stand up on stage or stand up in a room and have gravitas, make jokes, and just a lot of the things that many of us, certainly me, struggle with, as well as having a really sharp like B2B marketing mind. And I think he's just to promote. I think he's just published a book around like
Oh wow.
brave and bold marketing. So I'm sure he'll add comments if we got the title wrong. But that's how I know him.
Is he one of those people that's just good at everything and you kind of want to hate them, but you can't because they're so lovely? Is he one of those people?
Absolutely. He is absolutely one of those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is just it's sort
Yeah.
of like talent oozes out of them in a very natural way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, he's probably like good at
We had
sports. He's probably good at music. He's amazing at business, and he's probably really humble as well, right? So you can't even get mad at him. He's not a douche. He's just probably a nice guy, right?
That's exactly it. And he's always willing to
Yeah,
yeah, he's always willing to kind of pick you up, right? If there's anything that's like and that's just a great quality to have in someone, right? He's willing to get a smile back on your face. So yeah, great guy.
cool. Got to give a shout out to Darren Glanville. He's actually one of the unofficial sponsors of this show. So I set up a Patreon page just for fun, and Darren actually gave me some money for this. So yeah, when I get new equipment, Darren's kind of sponsored it. So thanks, Darren. He works for Fathom. If people
Okay.
don't know, he's a big deal.
Oh
Yeah,
yes, yes. I've
X
actually
Zero
I
as
think
well.
yeah, we've been in the same room before. Hey, Darren. And I'm yet to sort of to meet, but I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I mean, it looks like you've already got some great equipment. That's a really great microphone. I'm on these old school AirPods, but yeah, what nice to
Yeah,
have a
it is
nice to
what
have a
it is.
sponsor.
So going back a step, you said you've left university, computer science degree, and you work for
Mm.
Cubic, set up by four guys from Google. How did that come about? Because and the reason why I asked that, I've got some students who watch this show, and there is
Mm.
often difficulty certain students or graduates have getting into the employment market, but you seem to manage to land an amazing role straight away. Is it stuff that you did in terms of networking? Was it luck? Was it the university links that you had? How did that come about?
Yeah, like a lot of it's luck, and I I can talk you through sort of the steps. So, was finishing up a university,
Please do.
and I
Yep.
realised at the end of studying computer science that there were just far better engineers out there than myself, and people who were willing to dedicate more time to the craft. I actually really
Yep.
enjoyed the communication aspect and sort of what we would call now sort of client facing, like being with customers or with being on sort of more of the front office or front line type of work, in addition to the technical stuff. And so I was sitting in the shared house at university, and I hadn't gone to this graduate recruitment fair, but a bunch of my friends and housemates had, and they returned with all of
Yep.
this paraphernalia like leaflets. And I remember picking up the one for Accenture and thought, like, who's going to spend this much on trying to recruit graduates? And I turned it around. I was like, oh, that's a great salary. I think I might apply. So I kind of put like I think I had an MI5 application, some other sort of like ideas that I was going to do, put those all in the bin, applied there, and got in. And it was a fantastic experience. I spent the first 2-3 years of my working life there, and you build up some great consulting softer skills. You get to work with some really senior people. But I got this urge to do my own thing, and I remember having a conversation with the partner or managing director on the client account I was working. So I spent 3 years in financial services, like right at the height of the financial crash, which
Yep.
kind of ages me. And uh, he was adamant I could be like an entrepreneur inside this large organization. I said, I just don't think that's true. And so, decided to part ways. But how I found a small startup, because back in 2010, 2011, it wasn't such an established thing. So I remember speaking to my parents and friends about this, and they were kind of counseling, like, do you want to jump out of like a very reputable organization with an obvious career path, with a great salary, all of the benefits that come with that, all the trappings that come with that, and jump into this very much unknown, like take a massive hit on your salary? And my argument was, I just think this is going to be an opportunity to learn so much. And if I ever want to do this myself at some point, this would be a good place to be. And
Yeah.
Qubit at the time, as I mentioned, set up by 4 guys that left Google. We're in the big data analytics space. So when we started, it was very much around how do you bring that personalization of the search results that Google was beginning to roll out. So, if we both search for, Manchester United, based on our sort of behavioral preferences and things we've done before, we're going to get some tailor the results going to be personal to us. We were developing and built technology to give that same experience to retailers, travel companies, etc. But the relevancy to the story today, like what I'm doing with Nook, is on my very first day, I met my now co-founder. So Henry, who just finished up a PhD in maths, he had no corporate experience whatsoever. So he'd never worked in anything. Obviously, he was insanely bright. They put us on the same team. We became friends. Bonded over, wanted to do something entrepreneurial. So that's kind of how I got into startups. I think there's much more defined paths now. And I went through a job board called Escape the City. I think it's still around offering similar opportunities, but there's a bunch of these like Otter and other places you can go to find good advice. But yeah, that's kind of how I got started.
Thank you. That was an incredible answer. That gave so much information to people watching. I have to ask, and you touched on it, because I know how old you are. How old are you?
I'm 37.
Because you don't look your age. You look well, good sir. You're looking good.
That's really kind. I've had like 4 hours sleep as well, because my baby was up last night. So yeah, I appreciate it. But I have added like every setting under the sun to improve my
to smooth it out.
to improve my
exactly.
So yeah, I think if I came close to the camera, you'd be like, this guy looks 45. But that's kind of you to say.
So, in your early graduate days, working for a startup, what is your fondest memory?
I have so many. I never so I spent 6 years. So kind of interesting. I was initially, going there to have sort of like a baptism of fire of learning about how to to set up my own company and run a startup. And I enjoyed the journey, and we were so successful. We went through 3-4 rounds of fundraising, grew from like tiny team in a small room to 300 plus people, multiple offices around the world. And so I'd moved from doing what I'd been doing as a consultant into a commercial role, into a commercial leadership role. So I spent 6 years there. And so many I see what you're doing now. I like it a lot. So many fond memories. A few that stand out. Obviously, we played in the early days of big data. We were, it would sometimes take quite a while to run these quite significant queries, and so we play maybe a game of table football while we were waiting for the thing to process, which.
Yeah.
And so I remember never once in the history of myself and my now co-founders experience ever beating him at table football. So it just became,
Really?
but yeah, we continued to play. Yeah, which is good. I mean, I now get him back because I don't think I lose that often to him at squash, but that was a really fun memory. And I think the milestones really stand out, right? You know, the fundraising milestones, the growth in the office. I met my partner, who obviously had a baby with at Qubit as well. So it's been it was a great formative experience for me. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, a lot of your life has been in that experience. That's amazing. So yeah, I didn't realize you'd had so much experience. So when I asked you that, actually, there's a ton of things you could choose from, and good shout out that you managed to put your partner in there as well, just on the end, just to make sure she's happy.
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
Yeah.
You said all these things about food. Oh yeah, I also met my wife. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. I know, but like it's just, you know, you've got to put yourself in the way of opportunity, right? So do as many things, have as many conversations. But you know, one of so the CFO of Qubit and one of the co-founders are angel investors in Nook. And specifically, Emre, who's the CTO, one of the co-founders, was instrumental in really getting this business off the ground, helping us with investor introductions, like shaping of the pitch, and so yeah, I owe a lot of sort of where we are today to those experiences for sure.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a dumb question. It's one of the reasons why I do the show as well. What is big data? You mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, it's quite a nebulous term, and perhaps the others will have different definitions. But I think it's where you maybe one idea is to think about it is outside of the realms of being able to process in a simplistic manner, right? So it requires some special processing or some bit of software or hardware to actually manage and process and derive insights from. That's probably not a great definition, and thanks for putting me on the spot. How we and I remember back in 2011. That wasn't my
intention. That's not my intention.
It's an interesting question. I think back in 2011 it was very different, right? Like you didn't have these the Azure's, AWS, GCP sort of, they weren't such established data pipelines. So we had to build a lot of that infrastructure ourselves, and now you can buy it off the shelf. And the technologies have moved on tremendously. We were using, Hive and Hadoop. These at the time groundbreaking, would allow us to process. So let me give you a little bit more context. So with the businesses we were working at Qubit, what we were pitching to them was like deeper, what we were calling visitor insights. One of the challenges of Google Analytics, which is a product bought by Google, was previously called Urchin, was it was really hard to actually tie together sessions into this holistic understanding of the visitor. You just sort of have all these different sessions, you wouldn't be able to connect them, and therefore actually the insights you could gather from GA were quite limited. That's now fundamentally changed, right? A lot of this stuff just comes out of the box. But back then we were doing some quite smart stuff to stitch all the stuff together, provide really detailed insights about where you should improve the funnel, what needs to change in the user flow. And to do that, you needed to collect all of this data, which was big data, was genuinely big data, and then process it somewhere and then present it back in a digestible or actionable form. And at the time, we had built this technology to do all that processing, the data pipelines, the extraction of this information from the sites. And then myself, like Henry and the team, we were actually presenting it back initially in sort of PowerPoint format, right? So we were basically deriving some insights, saying, look, actually this stuff needs to change, combining that with some of our own know-how and presenting that back to the clients. And then over time, we actually developed that into a product. And if you fast forward from when we started to where we were, it was a personalization product. So we could, for a given retailer, travel company, betting company, design a completely different experience for that individual, for that user, based on all of the big data, but it was happening in real time. So, for example, if we had a preference for, X types of clothing over Y, you'll be able to mine that and surface that at the right time.
Got it. So it's your
Yeah.
fault that when I swipe on my phone and I get adverts, it's your fault. I get adverts that's very bespoke to me. This is all your fault.
Yeah, we didn't go into that route. It was first party on-site data, right? But yeah, the concept is the same to some extent in that you're trying to ascertain some behavior or some preferences from this.
I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. That was mean.
But
That was mean. I'm sorry.
I'm equally frustrated by those things. Like the funny thing with, like, I don't know if you read the Independent at all. I read it less now, but when I get down to the bottom of an Independent article, one, obviously when you get to if someone sends you an Independent article, you just know that you're going to have to click through like 15 videos to get to the story, or they're just going to keep loading. And then you get down to these like links at the bottom that are kind of clickbaity. This one weird trick this lady used to smooth their skin out, or this one trick that this individual used to sort of generate like £200,000 of income. And it's just amazing that those things have any efficacy at all, but they clearly do because they're always there.
They're there.
I find them.
Yeah, I know.
Find them hilarious.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears a little bit. I know you are a keen health and wellness person. That's kind of a part of you and what you do. I know you haven't had as much time because you've got a small child. How old's your kid?
7 months now. Yeah.
7 months. Yeah. So again, probably haven't got much time. Of the big 5 lifts, the main 5 lifts, so the bench, overhead press, squat, deadlift, and row, what are you doing in kilograms?
Oh wow! Now,
bearing in mind, I know. In your peak, you could do weighted chin ups with like 25 kg. So that's impressive.
Yeah. So I think so. I'm mainly doing calisthenics now, and I have been. Like, so just as my I still do a little bit of bench, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, have the opportunity to maintain the running and the weightlifting and the calisthenics post baby running a startup is marginal. So my workouts have become 25-minute, 30-minute CrossFit style, very energetic. Try to combine everything into one. So a mixture of like sprinting, pull-ups, press-ups, that kind of stuff. I think the bench, like at top, was around 100 kg, which I was
nice.
reasonably proud of. Squat, I've always had dodgy knees. So I'm not gonna admit to that, but it's significantly below. We connected right over the hex bar. Well, you were doing a hex bar deadlift, is that right? Trap bar. Was that? Yeah. I remember when our first LinkedIn conversation. It was that's how we became acquainted.
It was about lifting stuff. Yeah.
So I now use that device to not. But even still, actually, the last time I was reasonably injured was on the trap bar, the lower back. Yeah.
Really? What from the deadlift movement or the? Okay.
Yeah. So I was again over 100, and it just I think I was just trying to probably trying to do rather than sort of like a powerlift style workout. I was trying to do something in conjunction with perhaps some burpees and then do some deadlifts in between. But yeah, I think most impressive was probably like 5 reps, 25 kg weighted pull up. So not on the biceps, nice. on the bag. That translates to quite a big score on the row. But honestly, I haven't done row for a few years now because there's a lot of crossover.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned burpees. Are you familiar, or have you met Tony Stevenson from Free Agent by any chance?
No. Is he the burpee king?
He almost set the world record for burpees. It's like a fact that he tells people occasionally, and like he generally like could have got the Guinness Book of Records people to do. Because like, let's be honest, I don't think anyone apart from him and maybe you likes burpees. Like what I like about burpees, right, is like they are possibly one of the hardest exercises to do. Like I've seen bodybuilders, I've seen powerlifters, I've seen personal trainers, people who train every day a week. Burpees still destroy them. It's a really hard exercise, and very few people like them. Do you actually enjoy them, or do you do them for the fitness alone?
I enjoy them because they're hard, and I think that's definitely part of my personality seeks out those things that are hard and challenging, and I definitely get a little bit of kick out of it. I don't know what that is. Perhaps it's some deep-seated like competitive thing, because I know that when you start doing 25, 50 in the gym, people are like, this guy is a lunatic. and
Yeah,
I definitely get.
it means you're an actual machine. It means you're a machine.
Yeah,
Like it does.
yeah. But I did one. I
Um,
got into the gym last night at like 8. After we got Syya down, and I think I started the workout with like 25. Which is this is I like to be able to always have 50 in my locker straight out the back, and but yeah, I was a little tired last night. So, but yeah, still doing. I got to meet this individual. They sound like they're significantly more qualified to speak
we'll let it
about this
slide.
than me.
We'll let it slide. I mean, he too has a young child as well, by the way. So,
Oh
also, he's
no,
not. The
don't
funny
have
thing
that
about Sleep
excuse.
Tony, right, as well. Like, he's not. He's not. If you meet him, his physique is not. He's a big guy. He's a former rugby player, and I know he can bench like 150, like easy.
Wow.
So like the fact that he can do burpees and do a lot of them is actually quite impressive as well. But like he's a big dude. Okay, bringing it back to work again. I'm going to ask you a very very direct question. Two very direct questions, like really simple, really easy. That as the CEO slash co-founder, you should know the answer of. What the fudge is Nook, and why should anyone use it?
What the fudge is Nook, and why should everyone use it? So Nook is a payments and AP product built for small to medium-sized businesses, and we do four things really well. Right, we process invoices, extracting the VAT, the line items, the GL codes. We run approval workflows. So it's process, approve, and then we make payments. So both international payments and domestic payments, and we finally do the reconciliation and remittance. So across the entire AP workflow, it's a single product that you can manage that end to end. And yeah, one of our main routes to market and is working with accounting firms. So putting our technology into the accounting firm so they can use that alongside their clients to execute their payments, be that payroll, be that supply payments, be that expenses.
Okay, let's pretend I'm someone who has no knowledge of the finance process.
Okay.
Let's pretend I only work in sales. I do, I
Yeah.
get sales, I do sales. What does that mean? What is the AP process? Accounts payable. What is that? Why do I need it?
Yeah.
Why does the
Good.
business need it?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. It's a bit of a jargonistic term, but you can think about it like this, right? If we go out for dinner, which I hope we do one day, and one of us
Oh yeah,
pays,
sure.
um,
We'll split it.
we're
Obviously.
right. We do split it, right? But someone's going to pay back the next day. Now that's it. If
Yeah.
between us, that's the only thing we need to remember to do, right? Pay the other person back. When funds are leaving a business's account or being received by a business account, you require some documentation alongside that, right? This is an invoice, but then you need to do some categorization of that invoice, right? So where should this be apportioned to from a VAT perspective for your VAT return and also for your profit and loss, right? So we help we help the business with that process. So you receive the invoice. Oh, I've lost you. Is that purposefully
No, I'm still here.
to
Don't
kind
worry.
of? Oh, okay.
It's purposely so you can be. Sorry, I should have explained. I'm still
That's
here.
okay.
Everyone
Yeah,
else is still
yeah.
here. You're
Right.
just you're going into something very good, and I was like, let's focus on what he's saying. I apologize.
That's all right. It threw me off. And so yeah, so yeah, the contrast between the consumer payment, between us and that of the business is this need to document the receipt or outbound of that transaction, and that's the bit that we help with. So think of it like a bill payment or a payroll payment. This requires underlying documentation in your accounting ledger. Popular ones that people would have heard of: Xero, QuickBooks, Sage, NetSuite, right? So you need this transaction,
Mhm.
the money leaving the account, and this accounting record. So we bring those two things together. You could think of this as Nook as a bridge between the client's bank account and the accounting software, sitting in the middle, managing that end-to-end process. Is that helpful?
That is possibly the best explanation of automated or accounts payable process I've ever had. That was really good. Thank you. That was gold.
Amazing.
Um,
That's incredible.
Follow
And
up
we can clip
question.
this up. I'm just going to
What?
keep that as like as a little. I'm going to use that on the testimonial on the website. It's going to be on the homepage.
Oh, I can send you the downloaded footage of this if you want to use it. It's like this. Yeah, free to use. Go for it. Why
Amazing.
Nook then? Because there are. I'm not going to mention them, but there are a few other providers. Why Nook?
Yeah, yeah. There are lots of other
It's a
providers, and
big question.
it's a very yeah, no, it's a very fair question, and I think if there's anyone listening that's considering, who they should be working with, I think it's good to hear answers. I'd always say when choosing any technology, uh, think about the people and the process in addition to that. Don't just think about the technology, right? The change management part sometimes is a much larger challenge to deal with. So it is a competitive space, and we've got a bunch of direct players that are competing with us, and we've got also accounting softwares and indeed banks that are trying to get into the same space. Why you should work with Nook is that we believe we're the only product or company that's thought about that end-to-end workflow from an accountant and CFO or FD's perspective. So managing that end-to-end workflow, so combining all of those products, be it unnameable, but ones we've used to do OCR processing, ones you've done to run approval workflows, ones you use to make FX and international payments, and ones you use to do remittance. We've thought about as that combined workflow, and that means that you can scale with us. So even if you've got today 5 or 10 invoices you've got to pay, which is reasonably painful, clients of ours are paying upwards of 3,000 payables and managing that across quite large financial teams. So there's good reason to come to us to manage the end-to-end process, but also scale with us. And we like to think we're a good bunch of people to work with. I think it's really important actually that when you're picking a vendor, the account management team, the service team that sit alongside that, and indeed getting access to the engineers. This is a really important part of the fintech and accounting industry that we're part of.
Not gonna lie, I kind of want to work with you. Not gonna lie, sounds really cool. I like the energy. I like the energy.
I hope that's an opportunity coming up, man. So we'll keep that for the next episode.
We'll see. Going back several steps, your degree, you said you did it in computer science. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Does that mean you know a little bit? But does that mean you do like kind of machine coding, or you know more about hardware? And does it mean you have some experience with AI?
the word of the day. So looking back on my degree, I suspect this is changing now. We spent a significant amount of the time learning about the theoretical parts of computer science, right? So object orientated, inheritance, working with like Fortran and an assembler. And although this is very enjoyable and really interesting to think about how it goes from compiled language to down to assembler to binary and what happens inside the CPU, I don't think it was particularly practical to come out as and to start working as a software engineer inside a company. So really, and I never practiced it.
Is that because it was? Is it because it was too theoretical? Like you don't use it in the real world? Why was it not particularly useful?
Yeah, I think it's not as vocational, and I think we could easily go off on a bit of a tangent here, but I do think that some of these the coding academies and these boot camps are actually better prepare individuals to be engineers than perhaps sort of this relatively academic study of the topic. And I'm sure there'll be people who argue that's what a university's for. It's for and that's there should be a good balance. But I thought that the course itself we could have spent more time with more modern languages, more modern frameworks, and thinking about actually the practicality of what does an engineer look like inside a company. But I'm sure it's changed now, and my experience is kind of dated. Right, I graduated in 2008. So, and as I said earlier, I didn't go and practice the trade at all. I went straight into a consulting role, and one could argue inside Accenture I was doing a lot of technical analysis, but I was never doing any engineering. I was not sort of working with code day to day. Funny enough, the segue to AI is we have a relatively complex data model, and we've been building reports off the back of our production database. I've been using whether it's ChatGPT, but there are obviously other LLMs out there to actually help me write SQL and Python code to improve our reporting. And I've been blown away by So, and I'm kind of fortunate in the sense that I can think of it, if it was a foreign language, I can read it relatively fluently. So I can kind of read through it, so I can understand sort of how this function's defined, what are the inputs and outputs, and I can get a sense quite quickly of what the code's trying to do. But if it's me plus AI as this co-pilot alongside me, I've actually been starting to write reasonably powerful Python scripts, reasonably powerful SQL scripts, and stuff that I would typically be going to our engineering team to do. So this is now creating full stack individuals that my co-founder Henry likes to speak about. And it's, we're seeing, even in the engineering team, we're seeing huge efficiency gains and like productivity gains from what the engineers can do once they combine their work with AI. And we're thinking about that from a product perspective as well. So I think big areas this is going to change the landscape for accounts payable. OCR is one for sure. So this is, and we're already in our early experiments, we're seeing this see some dramatic improvements in be able to contextually understand the document being processed way beyond sort of the old school OCR technology. Like it actually starts to understand, okay, is this a higher rate? Is this not a line item? It's just a sort of supplementary information to the invoice, for example. But also, we see opportunities to take away what I broadly describe as like query dispute processes within finance teams and accounting teams. Like if you look at how accountants and finance professionals work, so much of their time is taken up by this sort of back and forth of emails between suppliers internally, trying to get to a resolution. So we're looking at ways of actually minimizing that effort and maybe using sort of AI chatbots to support that inside the Nook product. So, but more to come on that soon. Hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have some
That's cool
to see.
3 follow-up questions. You mentioned ChatGPT, and you called it an LOM. Is that what you called it?
Large language model, LLM, and there are a bunch of these out there, right?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so there's like there's all the open source ones. There's ChatGPT that most people are familiar with, and obviously we're on version 4, version 4.5. I guess is out soon. There's Palm from Google, and so there's quite a few of these.
How do you get it to write code? Do you say I want this function, write it in Python? Like how does it work?
That's exactly as you said there.
Okay.
So that's what's amazing about it. So to take the example of SQL, you can give it a data schema, right? Which is literally, here are how my tables are structured. So I might have a table with company, and I might have a table with trades or invoices in, and then it asks it to understand the relationship between those two things. And then you can say, I would like to see for said supplier or said company, how many are outstanding invoices against their top suppliers, and it's going to come back and it's going to write that query for you. And the great thing about what I've seen in my experiments is that you can actually, if you come up against an error, you can actually feed it that error back, and it's going to reevaluate what it wrote, address the change, present the code again. Now that's kind of that's a little bit inefficient. So I think
that's the power. That's the power of AI, though, isn't it? That's like the power of it. It's like it's not someone having to rewrite the code from the beginning. It's the AI going, okay, this didn't quite work. Let me learn it. And it doing it again, right? That's the true power of it.
Yeah, and it's not without its issues at all. So there's it struggles with like length. So if you're giving it sort of 400, 500 lines of Python, you're gonna need to start to break that up into, particularly if you're using the consumer GPT Pro interface, right? I guess there are better ways of doing this with things like LangChain, where you can start to stitch these things up. But I'm not an expert, to be very clear. So it does have limitations, but I think the direction of travel is so clear, and it's truly remarkable, technology.
Okay, that leads me to a slightly left field question. And if you don't know the answer or don't want to answer it, that's cool. No, it's somewhat related. Are you able to laymanize or explain the difference between a mean and LAMP stack for those who don't know, who aren't techie or got programming background?
So I'm going to be able to answer half of it. So let me see. Back in my computer science days, LAMP was Linux. I know 2 of the letters. You're going to have to help me out. One is PHP, right?
Apache, PSP, and MySQL. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, and in my years I've been playing with technology, I've definitely played around with sort of stacks that resemble LAMP. So we run on Postgres. So this is a form of SQL, like not unlike MySQL or MySQL. With Python's in the back end. We have JS and React on the front end, and So what's the mean one? I don't know. I don't know what the mean one is. What does that refer to?
I don't fully understand it either. Hence why I asked the question. I think it's something
Uh,
like Angular, Node, MongoDB, something like. I don't fully understand it. That's why I asked. If I'm honest, I know. Again,
yeah.
I have a web development background, and I did a lot of LAMP stuff when I was developing. But yeah, mean kind of came out, and I was like, I don't know what this is. So there we go. And I thought you might know, but if you don't know, you don't know. That's cool.
Yeah, no, not so familiar. I mean, what I can speak about in sort of broad generalities, which is that there are actually now so many different frameworks, like from full stack frameworks like Django, to ones where to minimal frameworks like Flask. These are both Python based, where you can choose to which database you work with, or whether you want this like one that's embedded, and there are so many different more configurations than I think that's probably a challenge for some engineers and companies, and like deciding that up front, because you're kind of wedded to it to some extent.
Sorry,
Anyway,
Debbie
but
Hales, nicely thrown back to Dale.
hey, yeah, brilliant. Thanks so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, the answer is I don't know. And I'm a classic salesperson. We'll come back to you on that when we have something.
No, that's a good salesperson, right? The worst kind of salespeople are the people who blag it and they act like they know. If you say you don't know, that's cool. Like, I don't know either. That's why I ask these questions. I try and ask dumb questions, so if the person I'm talking to knows, they can answer. If they don't know, not a big deal. Not a big deal. And my third and final question, based on the previous question, was: do you actually still get your hands dirty? Are you still doing engineering or programming work, or because you're the CEO slash co-founder, do you not get to touch anything anymore?
No, we're so. Just to be very clear, all of everything you see in the product, all the technical work is done by my co-founder Henry and the engineering team that he leads and runs. And anything that I think we looked at the GitHub stuff, and I wrote like 5 or 6 lines of code in the very early days before we had raised any money, had any people, and I think he quickly erased those and said, "This is not a good use of your time." So to be very clear, I haven't contributed from that perspective. Having said that,
Yep.
just on the AI point I made, now I'm actually contributing to what we call sort of some of the experiments we're running. So this is non-production code, but
Yep.
it's like where we're maybe writing stuff off code to just understand how things could work and fit together. And I'm also writing SQL again, or the AI is writing SQL, and
Nice.
I'm reviewing it. So, but in
Yeah,
terms of hands
that makes
getting
sense.
dirty, there's a lot more for me to be focused on with our customers, prospects, and other bits of the business.
That's cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. Debbie Hales has asked a question that I'm almost afraid to put up because I may not know the answer either. But let's do it, right? So Debbie says, for the uneducated, does stack mean using multiple resources that stack to interact with each other to give you the end result? Yes.
I think that's a very good way. That's a very good definition for stack. Again, like big data, totally nebulous, right? You can't look it up in a dictionary. But how I think about a stack, whether it's an app stack, whether it's a tech stack, is it's a collection of things that have been brought together to achieve some outcome. So not dissimilar to what you've just suggested. So with an app stack for an accounting firm, that could be OCR extraction, it could be some approval software, some payments, something like Fathom that we saw with Darren on. All of those things that are within your purview that help you bring to your clients an incredible experience, right? So and yeah, we're obviously part of that ecosystem for the Xero, QuickBooks, and Sage people on the call.
Awesome. Do you mind if I ask you some silly questions?
I love silly questions. I was hoping they were going to be peppered throughout, but now, yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, I usually do, right? But you were given so much wicked knowledge. Like, I was just like, let's not interrupt this dude. Let's just listen and learn. Like, I've learned a lot. So thank you. That's why I didn't interrupt you. I usually do it more often. Right. First silly question. If you could only eat one meat for the rest of your life, forsaking all others, what meat are you eating? I'm assuming you're not a vegetarian or vegan, by the way, because apologies if you are.
No. Oh, look, it's going to have to be beef. I eat so much chicken. I'm a big consumer of chicken, but I think if I only get one beef, I think that would probably hugely shorten my lifespan as well. But I think I live with that.
No, fair enough. So again, if you're having beef, you're not having any chicken, no nuggets, no bacon, None of that.
Oh,
Just get rid of it.
yeah.
The
No,
beef.
no more 20 minute nugget share box gone.
I don't know why they call it a share box. Let's be honest. Most people can smash 20 nuggets by themselves, right?
I'm not sharing this with anyone. Like get
No.
60, fair enough. Call it a share box. 20, forget it. That's a
Yeah.
single portion. Yeah. Yeah. 6.
I agree. For an adult, yeah.
Stop selling
Yeah.
6 nuggets. No one wants that.
And the Happy Meal only comes with 4 as well, which I get it's for children, but still, like 4, like come on.
Exactly. I'm with you. I'm totally with you on that.
Debbie's answered the question. She's been very clever. She chooses a mixed grill. Very clever, Debbie. That means you get all the meats. Savvy.
Smart
Savvy.
answer.
There's always that one person with the loopholes.
Yep.
Okay. Do you have a signature dish that you like to cook or prepare? Like if you're trying to woo or seduce me, what would you cook for me? Like what's your signature dish?
Scallops, pea puree, chorizo is my go-to sort of starter dish. That has become what I love. I love eating scallops. I like cooking them. There's some simplicity to the prep. You can do a bit of it beforehand. Kind of, I do like cooking a lot, but I'm kind of quite regimented, and I need to sort of have enough time, do things in quite a structured order, but also like to. Yeah, I mean, I think I could woo you. So put that together. Have some good entertaining chat. Serve a glass of wine.
Yeah.
That's put some music on. I think, be keen to. Well, maybe this is what we should do instead of going out for dinner. As part of the anecdote for why Nook is different to consumer payments. We can do it. We can take the Flabonga Monthrothacube. I knew I wouldn't get it right a second time. Take the podcast into the kitchen.
Mate, I said woo, not seduce.
What's the difference?
Okay. Woo is in terms of courtship, and seduce is naughty time.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, please, you've cleared that up for me. Yeah.
Olamide Odowu, does Joe play video games? Joe, do you play video games?
Not anymore, but I used to play a lot of Call of Duty, and during lockdown, we we played Call of Duty Warzone with a bunch of people, and it was a fantastic way to stay in touch with people. Just with the headset on and game. It gets you like adrenaline pumping. But yeah, that was really the last sort of my last period of having time to play video games was during lockdown. Now it's few and far between.
Okay. Well, obviously, you're busy running a business, got a 7-month-old daughter. That makes sense. When you did game though, was it mostly first-person shooters, or did you like have a particular genre, or was it like Nintendo versus Xbox or Xbox versus PlayStation? Were you a purist in that way?
So no, we had a NES, and I used to play. So, but yeah, what's my sort of arc of gaming? NES was sort of the first in. Played a lot of Mario Brothers. Then we had the N64, GoldenEye being just standout game for me. And that's what got me into first person shooters. Just world class.
It's a great game.
Just hours and hours. I'm not practicing piano. I'm not playing saxophone. I'm not doing anything I should be doing. I'm trying to get get through facility in like 2 minutes and 35 seconds so I could unlock some cheat code. But that was a brilliant game. And then obviously the FIFA. Into football and got hooked on those, and then really the only one I played most recently has been Call of Duty Warzone. But we do actually inside the company we have a time which actually is today of like an hour and a half to play board games each week, and we're remote. So we typically do something like a Catan, which is we use an online version of Catan or Risk or something like that. So play a lot of board games now, more than computer games.
I did not know there was an online version of Settlers of Catan. I didn't know this. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's called Colonist. It's free as well. Although there are certain things you have to pay, but you can start playing for free for sure.
Risk though, I like it as a game, but I've never played a game of Risk that doesn't last at least 4 hours.
Yeah, it's long. You need to be in for the long ride, for sure. Yeah, it's one you need a lot of time, maybe a few drinks and some people's company that you're going to enjoy for that time. And there's going to be arguments as well, right? For sure.
Oh, for sure. We can't play Monopoly in my house or my parents' house because Like just we take it too seriously. When my dad starts winning, he starts gloating. Yeah. And there's one occasion when the board got flipped upside down, like just
No
in
way.
frustration. It wasn't me, by the way. I'm not saying who did it. Just a member of my family. Yeah, got heated. Monopoly, can't play that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's very, very true. Yeah, I agree. That's funny, isn't it? Like it's not happy memories, family with board games, but also a lot of like memories of people just getting really, really annoyed. Yeah, never had a board flip, but definitely had a few tears for sure, a few arguments. Yeah, definitely.
True nature comes out in competition, doesn't it? Let's be honest. Like true nature comes out like playing board games. You see how people actually work and how they are.
My
In fact,
yeah,
you should probably do like.
go on.
I was gonna say startup should have like a board game interview round where you got to play like a board game with like four other attenders for the role. That'd be interesting to see the group dynamics there.
Yeah, we've got a few very good chess players as well. So we do have occasional chess games. But yeah, I think I remember catching my great grandmother who's 95, still alive, still 100% mental faculties, lived alone. I remember we were playing Monopoly once, and it was either Monopoly or something. But she was basically cheating, and we established this, and and caught her out.
Love it.
She's wildly good at Scrabble and Upwards, which is again similar to Scrabble, but you can kind of build up with. It's really really cool game.
Great game.
She's incredible. She's incredible at that. So typically we'll try and play a game of that when I go and see her.
Yeah, it's a really good game. Really good game.
What's your favorite board game?
My favorite board game, honestly, it's a game called Pandemic. It's a collaborative game where you're working together to defeat the pandemic. And I played it long before COVID, by the way. But essentially, you have these like four kind of diseases, different colors: red, blue, black, and yellow. And certain amounts of the disease get placed on different parts of the world, different cities. And your job, you've got different roles. You've got like a medic, you've got like a operations planner. They've got different specialities, and you're working together to either cure the disease or make sure the disease is treated well enough.
Wow.
Yeah.
The really interesting story.
Really good game. I enjoy it.
When is so there's a interesting anecdote here. So when I was at Accenture, someone I was working on a project with, so we're at the same level. He went on to set up endemic creations, I believe they're called, of which the pandemic app, which was really big. He created it. I don't know if I think they then created a board game off that back of that, or vice versa. I'm not sure which way around it is. So he could be someone I knew could be responsible for that. But I remember that I remember coming back, like we were working like really late hours, classic, right, in one of the bank's back office buildings we were stuck in, and I remember coming over to him thinking, oh, he's going to be working on the work we have to do. But he was putting together a spreadsheet. And I was like, what's this? And he was kind of like working out all the different rules configurations for the game. But it could be the same thing, which would be awesome. But I haven't personally played. I haven't played it myself. I need to. Yeah, we're kind of fixated on Catan, Risk, and a couple of others. We also play GeoGuessr. Have you ever played GeoGuessr? That's an amazing online game.
Never played that.
Very simple concept. Drops you into somewhere on Google Maps, the street view, and then you have to quickly ascertain on the map with some time limit where it is. And then the closer you are, obviously, to where it is. And so you have to use, can you use geographical features? Can you use, language? Can you use telephone codes? So yeah, really cool. And you can do it in teams as well. So it gets a bit more strategic.
Making a note. Sorry, GeoGuessr. That's really cool.
GeoGuessr, yeah, very cool. Another that was something you started.
A viewer.
Yeah, go on. How do you feel when you first?
Hola.
When you, yeah.
Okay. So we need to read it out for loud for people who are listening. How did you feel when you got your first customer, and how many adjustments did you have to do afterwards?
So we spent the first year and a half, almost 2 years, in a closed beta with design partners, because in the world of fintech, actually starting that whole principle of moving fast and breaking things doesn't apply. You can't be 99% correct with payments, right?
Nope.
So
you've got to make sure that money goes where it's supposed to go, and the amount has to be exact. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Sorry.
there isn't. You're exactly right. So some of the principles of if other industries don't apply in accounting and finance, rightly so. Right, you can't. If you make a issue with the ledger, like this is really hard to unpick for obvious reasons. So we spent a significant amount of time in a sort of closed design beta with a bunch of customers, and so the really maybe the moment that was most powerful for us was that the first sort of revenue that we generated. And to be really clear, we spent a lot of time in discovery, making sure we've solved the problem in the right way. So there was that was a drawn out process. It wasn't like we spent 3 6 months in a room building something, got it out there, and someone says, "Oh, I want to use this." The process is much more collaborative these days, or certainly this is the approach that we took. So you're really trying to understand the problem. You're putting the presenter in front of them. You're going back and refining it, and it's more of a gradual, incremental process. Yeah, you
Cool.
can't play around with people's money. You can, of course, create a development environment where you have fictitious money, and we can all do that. But it's a little different to building maybe a social network or something like that.
No, that's a really good point and a really good question. Thank you, Ola, for asking that. That's a
Yeah.
really good one. Um, I feel like I've spoken an awful lot to you, at you, and asked you tons of questions. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I have a bunch of questions. So, well, firstly, thank you so much for having me on. It's been awesome to spend time talking to you, and I feel that we've met across many different events, but now this
Hmm.
has been the an opportunity to sit down together and actually have quite a deep conversation. Um, what are you most excited about in the world of fintech? Obviously, you've been speaking to like a plethora of individuals from across. Like, what is most exciting you about the next 5 years?
Do you mean a piece of technology or just the market in general?
Well, either. Like, I'd be interested to know what's yeah. It's going through a rapid bit as you've proved with this. It's going through quite a rapid transformation. So what's exciting you most about that?
I'll give I'll give a more generalist answer. I'm not going to pick one particular software or one particular vendor or anything like that. I like that there's going to be some consolidation in the market. I like that when fintech kind of came out as a major player 10, 15 years ago, it was kind of like the 90s dot-com boom, right? Everyone was kind of just grabbing up things and ideas and people investing and accounting firms and bookkeepers just kind of doing things. And sometimes it was a case of whoever shouted loudest kind of won. Customers, so the clients of accounting firms and accounting firms are getting more savvy, and there's still an amazing buzz going on, but I think there's going to be a consolidation. There's going to be less hype around certain things and people being more strategic, and platforms like Nook that are doing more consolidated approach are interesting. And for me, when I'm reviewing stuff for what question reads are going to use and who we endorse, that kind of stuff, yeah, it's weighing up. Do we go with a singular niche product that's very good at what it does, using OCR as an example, or do we go for a Nook that's more of a platform approach that actually has those things connected? And that's, for me, that's really interesting to see, because one of the complaints I've had in the past with different firms I speak to is, oh, this product's really good, but we have to use these 10 other things to make everything work we want it to do. And we're seeing, like, say, with Nook and with others, people going, okay, well, let's take these 4 things, let's make them in one place, and let's make them really, really well, not just an add-on. So I think that's going to be the biggest change and the most exciting thing. I'm not going to talk about AI because I'm not an expert on it, but I am going to talk about the time saved, right? Like you mentioned it before. Accountants, bookkeepers, financial experts, the time saved, the work-life benefit, all that kind of stuff, like the balance is changing significantly because of the tech. It's not replacing people, which some people fear, but yeah, the amount of time saved and the value that can be added thereafter, that's the exciting bit for me. Is that a
Yeah.
good answer? Bit waffly?
I think it's a great. I think it's a great answer. I think just to kind of summarize that, the consolidation is or bundling is really exciting for accountants, for accounting firms, and for practitioners, right, and for the clients. Because at the end of the day, we serve the privilege of our customers, right, which in many cases are clients of our partners, our accounting partners, and the people way smarter than me speak about the only two ways you can create value, right? Bundling and unbundling. And right now, I believe in this space, we're going through this period of bundling, where for the last 5-10 years, there's been some quite well built, well engineered point solutions. But actually, with the advent and the intersection now of where Gen AI is taking us, and be able to do more with less, I think you're going to see bundled offerings like Nook be able to do these things as well, if not better, than some of those point solutions. And that old argument of like, oh, is it really a trade-off? I think actually that's going to start to disappear, and you're going to be looking for something that can do it end to end. So, yeah,
100% agree. I guess the only concern that I might have personally, this isn't like me speaking on behalf of KR, is the risk factor. So
Sure.
with unbundled stuff, sometimes you know they work, right? They're established, they've been in the market for a long time. And I've seen it where people have tried to bundle stuff and not done it very well, and it falls apart. But no, you're right. With people like with Nook coming in, you thought about it from the beginning, from the grassroots. How does it actually work together in an ecosystem? Yeah, and I think from a customer perspective as well, so for our clients, a bundled approach is way easier. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not dissing any of the single type apps, as it were, but having 10 different things in place for a customer to get used to can be quite daunting. I'm exaggerating by using 10, hyperbole, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, look, I think you're absolutely right. That there's the things that frustrate clients can be related to having to log into multiple systems, even being sent emails from different systems, right? Can be frustrating, confusing. You want to manage this in one place. Certainly, this is what we've learned in our customer discovery with our customers. They want to be able to do it end to end in a single product, and perhaps that was hard 5 years ago. But I think with the advent of some of the new technologies that we've spoken about, it's now possible to see that come into light.
Sorry, got a question from Debbie Hales. I will try and answer it first, if that's okay. What happens if one of the bundle offerings ceases to trade? Does it all fall down? So, Debbie, I think what we're trying to say is that when we're talking about bundling, it's from like a Nook perspective, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's not separate apps that are now put together. They've actually been designed to replace the functionality of bundled services. So it's not a case of one falling down. It's a case of, okay, I'll give an example, right? So you can have OCR software, so optical character recognition software here, and you can have approval system here, right? And there can be two different softwares from two different vendors. And that's the way it's been for a while. What some of the newer players in the market are doing is, okay, look, we will build those two, but they're our own product. So, Debbie, it wouldn't be a case of the approval system falling down and you don't have that anymore. It's all in one place. And that's the when Joe's talking about bundle, he's talking about a bundled service built from the ground up within, not as opposed to 2 different or 3 different, 4 different things. So it wouldn't necessarily be one offering falling away. So that's one of the benefits, less risk. The bigger risk, though, is if the entire entity doesn't work, then you've lost all that functionality. Pros and cons. If I got it right, I'm putting words in your mouth a little bit, but...
No, that's true. Like the question of solvency is true for any entity you're working with, right? Whether they're doing something single point solution or whether they're doing bundled, and it's also around the intention of what that product's trying to do. Like, we have made it very clear that Nook's area of focus, as it is today, is moving you from these invoices, purchase orders, credit notes, right through to a reconciled complete ledger in one tool. Not to say that other platforms out there that do OCR, for example, do other things. They do, but they're not necessarily related to that AP workflow. So we've been very specific about the things that we want to do within that AP workflow. It's an exciting time. I mean, look, as we discussed, there's competitors in many different spaces in the accounting fintech crossover, and this is going to result in more creativity, more innovation, and hopefully happier clients of accounting firms, which is why we're in business, right? And so exciting times.
100% agree. Okay, we're going to wrap things up because we've both got work to do. Before we drop off, first of all, I want to say thank you for doing this. Again, no super busy, got other stuff to do, so thank you for taking the time to speak to me. Thank you to everyone who's made comments and asked questions, by the way. This makes it all the more interesting and engaging when you guys engage. So thank you for doing that, Debbie, Darren, etc., etc. Like, thank you. Awesome. Joe, do you have one nugget of wisdom, one bombshell that you want to give to people before I hit end stream?
Wow. Oh, leave pressure question right at the end. Look, thank you so much for having me on. Really appreciate it. It's been a fantastic conversation. I really hope people have got some value from it and listened to some strange stories that we've told. I think my big thing that I'm obsessed with at the moment is around focus, and the world has become a very distracting place, and you can interpret that however you wish, right? From there are now just so many different news sources to so many different things you'll be spending your time doing. But specifically for, I think, for accountants, also their clients, and indeed for us at Nook, you just have to be incredibly intentional and incredibly focused to get anything done that's meaningful. I think now in the world of work, it's so easy to be able to be across, try and be across 100 things and be like a busy idiot. So big lesson for me, and something that we're trying to do better at, because I do take on a lot of things, is to just be more focused and more intentional. And I think, that's probably the things on my top of my mind at the moment. Whether that's profound or or a piece of sage wisdom, I'll leave others to. I suspect people will just say this is some sort of truism or cliche, but it's something that I try and think about every day.
No. If it's true to you and if it's your experience and you're someone who's doing it, then it's valid. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to hit end stream. Please keep smiling because it's like a 5-second delay. Otherwise, you might freeze like this, which is never
Wow.
good. So peace out.
Thank you so much.